Hey, g'day, I'm Toby. Now this video is actually some interviews and a coverage of the Glasshouse Gallery specifically for Australian blacksmiths. It was awesome, and I actually got to spend a bit of time with the guys and do some forging the next day at their hammering. These guys are all members of the ABA in New South Wales. Sit down, enjoy, and watch the video.
So Lyle has a piece in the art gallery tonight. So tell me a little bit about the piece, Lyle.
Well, it's a piece that I've only been doing for 2 years now.
Blacksmithing?
Yes. I've been working under Colin, Dray and Sven.
Yeah, wow, okay. So you started off well.
Yeah, 2 months ago.
Yes, very much so.
And I go out every Monday and Wednesday to Colin's place sometimes. And
Okay, tell me about Power Hammer before we go any further. What Power Hammer is it like? You got a Nanyang?
Yeah.
I see you know Bruce?
Yeah.
Right, so it's a new one?
Yeah.
Right, okay, what size?
This is all in 25.
Plumber, an electrician,
Yep.
they'll win $10 million.
Okay.
An electrician buys a boat, sails the Riviera the rest of his life.
Yeah.
The electrician buys a Swiss chalet and has Swiss maidens all around for the rest of his life, and the blacksmith just keeps working until it's all gone.
They say you never get rich being a blacksmith.
No, you have a lot of fun
You have a lot of fun doing
and
it.
meet a lot of lovely people.
And if you do the thing you enjoy doing, money's far less important than enjoying yourself.
Definitely. Getting together in a group like this and meeting new people that haven't seen what you've been doing and exposing it to the wider public.
Oh mate, I'm excited about
Like
that.
that exhibition up there has been 25 years in the making. I was an inaugural member here,
Yeah, right.
and the work that's now on the walls and on the floors up there is capable of going to any art gallery in the world. It's the best. I've seen these guys go from novice blacksmiths through to professional artists, and that's what it is. Every piece up there is an art piece. So what more can you say?
Who would you say is the best one here? Can you put a level on like that?
You can see the different standards.
Yep.
Will Maguire's best now. I mean, no, he's there already.
Love Will, he's a local.
Yeah, in the Hunter Valley. He's been travelling the world smithing for years. So people like will take smithing into the future.
Love being filmed, don't you? Are we? Doug, we've already said hello. Hey, so I'm here with Will Maguire. Come and say hello to him today because he's standing in the corner looking all sullen all on his own. He wasn't really. He was chatting to people. I just can't be rude. Cut them all off. How you doing? Good. What do you got here tonight? Can you tell me about it yet, or do I have to see it?
Well, I've got a few to do. The biggest one is a big bench. It's like a collaborative.
With who?
We had it forged like maybe 2 years ago. Steve and Don, Willie all came down.
All the names. All the names that we all know.
Yeah, you'll know most of them. Yeah, they came down. And there's actually Mewburn and John Wood from Water.
Yeah, right.
Down the other week and we finished it off.
So hang on. They all helped when you got your name on.
Well, I designed it.
Oh, okay. So how it works.
They did all like the fancy like visual stuff.
The decorative stuff.
Together.
And you did the screw here, print it there.
Yeah.
Weld this.
Stuff like that. And then some
Cheating?
work and, yeah.
we know your designs are pretty awesome, so I can let you get worried. So you got that one. What else you got here?
It's a little roos, little kangaroos. I made them like
cool.
beans, like universal beans in the scrap head.
Oh really?
Yeah, I was kind of mucking around, but I kind of liked how they came out. So
I'm not surprised. I think they're awesome. I saw that the other day. I'm going to say I thought maybe something that sort of did him wrong, but if you've got them here, that's cool.
yeah,
How big are they?
they're only little because I was making them in the US, so I knew I had to show.
You're going to bring it back.
They're only the bodies are only.
Yeah, right. But there's several of them.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, man. I'm actually excited to see those. Like I say, I've seen them online, but it's sort of hard to tell what something looks like until you see it in real life.
Yeah.
But that's pretty cool. So, who are you looking forward to?
Well, I've heard Steve's canoes are good.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen them either, but they're made like old camels.
Yeah, right, okay. So, does Steve do that sort of stuff? Like, reuse products? Is he into that sort of stuff?
Oh, clearly.
Yeah. But that's not what he's known for, though, is it?
Well, no.
I don't think so. No, I haven't.
But to be honest, I'm not really sure what to expect.
There isn't so many guys. Or maybe a little bit. I get pretty overexcited.
I'm probably not that excited.
That's awesome. Ben, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Have a good night.
The indigenous word we use is Gabriel. It's a place of convergence, a place of meeting. And I think the Glasshouse pretty aptly represents that. And we love these sharings, we love these gatherings, we love the togetherness. So please welcome. And just really would love to acknowledge the people who came before us.
Discovery Fe26. The idea came up 2 years ago, and it focuses on first contact between the early explorers, the first European explorer to make it deep into the inland of Australia, John Oxley. He found new lands and discovered new peoples. They discovered him and his ways in return. I'd have to say, who got the better deal there? The society we're in now is shaped by that first contact.
So this is Eoin McSwan. Now a lot of us will know who Eoin McSwan is. Just watching him make some birds' feathers, so seagull wings actually, which is pretty cool. How you doing, Ian?
Yeah, we're doing the beak now for
How you doing a beak?
for the head of the seagull.
Right.
So we've got to bring that down a bit of a point for his beak.
Okay.
Something like that.
What we up here today because of the Glasshouse gallery. You had a piece in the Glasshouse gallery, didn't you?
Yeah. The piece I had was called Dreamweaver.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a woven flat steel with round steel rods.
Yeah, right.
That's the first time I've done something like that. Yeah.
Because from what I can find out about you on the net, you've done things like the cauldron, like the copper type stuff you've done before.
Yeah, a bit of copper work and stainless and sort of a bit of everything, and brass.
Brass?
Yeah, bronze and yeah, right. Yeah, bronze is good to work with, and it's good to mix the different metals.
Yeah, right.
So you get the different colours and contrasts and textures and things like that.
Nice.
Yeah, but copper's good, especially old found copper's got the nice patina.
You don't
colour.
lose that when you work it?
Oh, yeah. You can boot, yeah. But the hammer marks add to it too.
Yeah, I'm sure, but I just wonder whether it sort of cleaned it up a little bit.
Yeah, and gives it the texture. And
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So the piece you had in last night, I heard it sold.
Yeah. We were lucky to sell it. Yeah.
I don't know if it's luck, is it? Skill, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit of luck there, a bit of both, I suppose.
Bit of both.
Yeah. But,
so what sort of money did that go for?
Oh, that was 600 for that.
600.
Yeah.
And what sort of hours is a piece that costs 600?
There's probably 12 hours in it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, roughly be 12 hours. But
so it's not a lucrative sport, this one then? You're making apprentices' wages doing art. Doing amazing stuff with apprentices' wages.
Yeah, every now and again you're lucky and you find something where you can get a reasonably hourly rate, but you more or less don't even think about an hourly rate.
No. And you're not doing it for the money, are you? I don't think any blacksmiths
do
it for the money.
Because it's just a hobby now, yeah. It's just for the love of the game, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing this for?
I started when I was 15.
Right.
And then I served my time as an industrial blacksmith.
Did you?
Yeah, and then I had a mobile welding business after that, and then I sold it, and now it's sort of semi-retired now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But Ian, if my memory serves me right, your dad was a blacksmith.
Yeah.
My dad was,
he was a railway blacksmith. Yeah.
So is your old man around when you started blacksmithing?
No, he passed away when I was about 12. Yeah.
So he never got to see you following his footsteps.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. What about your mum?
Yeah. Mum's still going. She's nearly 90. Yeah.
She must have been proud to see you follow after your dad, though.
Yeah.
Is that what made you want to go into it?
Oh, I'd always loved that metalwork and that, and that. But I've still got a lot of his stuff.
You got a lot of your old man stuff, have you?
Yeah, I've got one of his hammers here.
No way. That's what you call having a bit of lineage, especially in the industry we're in.
Yeah, that's one of his hammers. Yeah, but I've got his anvils and his blowers.
So is that one of his hammers he made, or?
Yeah, he's made that. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So what does it say? It says Willie. Is that your old man's name?
Yeah, his name.
Yeah. Can you get a picture of that?
McSwan.
Nice. It's a good looking hammer. Looks like it's been used.
Yeah.
So you got a few of his tools?
Yeah, I've got his anvil and blowers and tongs and things like that. Yeah.
And that must mean something special to you.
Oh yeah, well I put it all away from that. From when he passed away, I was only 12, and I sort of half looked after it since then.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I didn't use it for a lot of years, but later on I set it all up. Yeah.
That's awesome. I get that. I've got a lot of my dad's tools, and he passed away a couple of years ago, and they mean more to me, even though half of them I probably will never use.
Yeah.
They mean a lot to me, so I can understand why using your dad's tools would be really important.
There's a bit of sentimental value, and I've got his apron. I didn't ring it today. Yeah, I've got his leather apron and things like that.
Oh, mate, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and, thank you.
Well, I'm sure we'll see you around.
I'll see you around the forging day.
Yeah. So Tom Miller, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, mate, and what you do.
Okay, I'm from a town called Newbridge, just southwest of Bathurst. I've got a property there, and I do a bit of blacksmithing on the property. I've been there about 10 years, but I've been blacksmithing for about eight years now.
8 years.
So yeah, I did a Cert 3 course down at Richmond TAFE.
If I was to ask you things that you think a new blacksmith or a young blacksmith could do to increase their skill set?
Well, I think that would be the number one thing, Toby, would be the fact that hanging around with people like us, they're going to get pointed in the right direction, so they're not going to go wandering off doing the wrong thing. They're going to straight away realise that this is the way to do it, and people are going to tell them how to do it. And
it's hard to unlearn bad techniques, isn't it?
Yeah, well, hopefully that they won't start with any bad techniques at all.
That's right.
They're already directed into the right path, and just doing lots of it.
Right, okay. So number one is sort of hammer-ins and that sort of thing, hanging around people who know what they're doing?
Yes.
Or a mentor?
Yeah, mentors.
Yeah. And number two is what? Practicing?
Practice.
Just actually hit metal for a while?
Practice, yeah.
Okay.
So by getting together with a larger group of people, these practices are going to be kind of a general,
Right,
generic
okay.
sort of thing.
So sort of going back a little bit to what you were saying about just doing stuff, that repetition, from what I can tell, from in the short amount of time I've been doing, just creating 20 of something instead of one, it seems to be a good way to sort of get skill sets to move quite quickly. Do you agree with that?
Yes, yeah, that's like life.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
You know, a lot of young people are going to play sport, and what do you do in sport? You train.
Yeah, right.
You train, and this is just no different. It's training.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, thank you so very much for your time. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Probably have heard of Lyle Brittain before. Lyle, tell me a little bit about the piece you've got in gallery today.
It's one of the first pieces I put into a gallery. I've only been doing blacksmithing for about 2 years, and with the help of Eoin McSwan and also Dray, 2 master blacksmiths, I found that it was something I always wanted to do. The piece in the gallery represents the earth. It starts off basically with a wooden base, a rock, and then steel, and then glass. And if you have a look at every process that's in the making of that piece, it has something that relates back to the earth all the time.
Yeah, wow.
So with the help of Chris, my partner, who made the shield, and I helped to make it too as well.
Yeah, so Chris is a glass artist.
That's correct, yeah, very good artist. She's got probably numerous awards in America for artwork, and has written several books on mosaics.
Yeah, right.
And she also does mosaics as well with stained glass windows, and we just restored a church windows at Bellingen, New South Wales, at St Margaret's.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so we've just restored that and thoroughly enjoy it with a lot of camaraderie with the blacksmiths.
Yeah.
And they'll help you out. They'll come around and help you do things, and we share our knowledge all the time.
Yeah, that's the thing about this sort of hobby. There's a lot of things people don't want to share.
Yes.
The hobbies, and I've been interested right from the start.
Yes.
How blacksmiths and bladesmiths alike have literally no issue with sharing their top secrets.
No, and on top of that, with striking, you have a camaraderie between the artist and the sledger.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have that, you're trusting the person swinging a large hammer while you're holding a flattening tool or a fuller or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm 68 now, so...
68? You're looking good for 68.
Yeah, well, I'll still keep going till I'm 90.
Yeah, right.
Then I can make my own box.
Then you can what?
Make my own box.
Make your own box before you go.
Keep it underneath the stairs.
They're made of glass and steel.
Yeah.
It would be the most decorative one ever, maybe after Elvis.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I love it. And so a couple of years is actually a very short amount of time to be showing in a gallery to have the skill set that you have. What do you attribute that to, your acceleration so quickly?
My father was a tool maker, his father was a tool maker, so it goes down the line that we always have a background of a craft background.
Yeah.
And I think it follows through our genes somehow.
I actually agree with you. I feel like my dad may not have taught me everything he knew, but almost everything I've learned was because of my gene pool.
Yeah.
Made me able to learn that stuff which some people can't learn.
If you work with something that's flexible, you can create anything. And glass can be molten, it can flex into a mould. Steel can be in a molten form, but it also can be worked to look like what you want to put into it. And artisans is you step outside the circle and you don't concentrate on just perfection all the time. You can make probably the worst piece of material, but it also looks good to someone else. Yes, that's right. Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder.
It's the same thing. Some people would look at something and go, I don't really see anything in that, whereas other people, it's the most beautiful thing they've ever seen.
Yes, that's right. And Ian has sold the piece, and the people that bought the piece were lucky enough to come down and meet him.
Yeah,
and they want him to sign one of the books for him.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was real, and he doesn't take enough credit.
No.
Most of the master blacksmiths are very shy, I think.
It's interesting though, isn't it?
Yeah.
They don't do it for the glory. There's no narcissism involved in it.
That's one of the best things about it, and they're very easy to get along with.
I found that.
Yeah.
They're all happy to talk.
And notice how the size of us is not that big.
You're not all massive like you expect cartoon blacksmiths to be.
Enjoy.
Like each other.
Then you like each other. All right, awesome. So we've got Doug Moseley here and we've got Graham Askew, 2 absolute giants in this field. I just asked them what they're thinking is some of the biggest things that young blacksmiths or early blacksmiths should be doing to get better at this art.
And then what we got onto was the rhythm of a blacksmith. And if you can hear the hammering going on in the background now, you can tell when someone has got that necessary rhythm in their forging. The hammer hitting the anvil and the work is one of the main critical things, isn't it, Ray?
Yes. When I first started blacksmithing some 30 years ago, I was fascinated. I was struggling doing tapers and doing points on for
I don't believe it.
Simple S-hooks. Yes, I was. And when I watched Doug, he could do a point in 25 hits,
yeah, right,
whereas I was taking 50. and it was the amount, it was the rhythm, and it was the amount of energy he put into those first few blows. Get to the point. He hit the point, bang, bang, bang.
Yep.
And he got it down within 10 blows. He got it basically there, and then he dressed it up.
Because you're putting heat back into it as you're hammering it.
Yes, yes.
If you stand and watch it, it'll cool down. If you hit it, it'll warm up.
Oh man, and that's an art I have not been able to get yet. I'm still amazed by it, to watch people like Wayne and you to be able to knock heat back into something.
Well, you can start with a cold piece and actually forge it.
That's crazy.
And I'll show you that later on.
And frictions, yeah, I'd love to see that.
And I've seen these guys change their approach to smithing once they get that rhythm. Their mind, hand-eye coordination, the hammer coordinations are all coming together, and they're producing artworks that are on display here now. After 25 years of the Blacksmithing Association here, they're true artists now. They're not blacksmiths forging horseshoes.
So tell me more about what you're thinking for someone like me. I've only been doing this a year and a half. I've done a reasonable amount of practicing now, but I want to increase my skills, and watching YouTube all day isn't going to do that.
Increase your skills. I think, as Graham said, a taper is one of the main things. I think one of the biggest problems with learning to do how tapers is, and getting over your work, is an anvil stand that's a log. You can't get your feet underneath a log under an anvil.
Right.
But an open angle iron anvil stand, you can actually get your weight in and under it,
right,
and then reach over the anvil. You're not reaching out and losing your power. But all your power comes from shoulder, elbow and wrist.
Okay.
And that, it doesn't really change until you want to strike harder. You lift higher. The higher you lift, the bigger the mechanical advantage of your
more leverage
joint, and the greater velocity of the hammer at the end point.
So I've noticed, even in my short time, correct technique stops me wearing out as quick. So I'm presuming over years of doing it, bad technique will retire you early.
Wrist, we'll get RSI very quickly.
Yeah, right.
Wrist and elbow, your elbow will go, wrist and shoulder and elbow, and everything's taking some of the load. It's a sharing association. We are sharers in every field of artworks, but if you can't share your knowledge, it will die. And this is why blacksmithing isn't dying, it's thriving.
That's right.
That exhibition up there is just extraordinary. I'm so proud to have been a part of the learning process over the last 35 years for it to get to that stage.
All right, this is the one and the only Colin Dray. So
thank you,
we've
Toby.
all heard of this man.
Oh, thank God.
Well, Doug's my mate. He's heard of me at least.
Doug's heard of him. He's a master in this field, and we are absolutely honoured to be chatting with him today. So, Colin, tell us a little bit about your piece that you've got in the Glasshouse.
Okay, it's a piece called Nail Tree, and I called it Terra Nullius because it relates to Terra Nullius, which is the statement that the British colonisers used when they came to Australia, and there was no obvious occupants of the country, and they said, well, there's no one here, we can take it over.
Yeah, right.
So what I'm trying to show in the piece is deep time, which is basically the incredible length of time that Aboriginal Indigenous people have occupied the country compared to the short time that Europeans have occupied Australia. So what you've seen with the nail making is each nail represents a generation of Indigenous people, and if you do your calculations, 40,000 years people hear but they can't understand, so I've tried to relate it to generations, and there are approximately 2,000 generations for Aboriginal people and about 10 generations for Europeans.
Is that right?
Yeah, so what it means is I had to represent this on some form of, on a sculpture in some form that was interesting and that people can relate to 2000.
Yeah.
So it became a tree with a swirl of nails. And towards the top, I used the European, for the Europeans, I used stainless steel. So if you look closely, you'll see there's about a dozen or so, might be more, stainless steel headed nails. And a lot of the mild steel nails, which is what you saw me making, representing Indigenous, get sort of knocked around. There's a lot of damage. There were good and bad interactions that occurred. So I tried to represent that. So it's a conceptual idea that basically shows the interaction between the Europeans and the Indigenous and the effects of that interaction. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So that's what I was trying to show. Yeah.
And it's quite amazing actually, so you can see that where they change, the nails change, but also they become less uniform.
Yeah, well different heads, different tribal groups. There's something like 600 languages in the country, or there were.
Interesting.
Yeah, there were many hundreds anyway, I might be wrong on 600. And yeah, they interacted, they were peaceful, they had boundaries which they respected, and they coexisted for a very long period of time, whereas coexistence now is very tenuous, and as we know. So I was pretty passionate about that theme, which it's very hard to display, but time is something that people have difficulty understanding. You can imagine 2,000 years since the birth of Christ. You can see 2,000 nails, but in terms of 40,000, 60,000, a bit harder,
It's just a lot of metal.
It's a lot of metal as well, yeah.
They have to be multiple trees.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, multiple trees. Yeah, well, I get that.
Yeah.
So Colin, I mean, but you've been in the industry a very long time, haven't you?
Yeah, I started back in about 93.
Right.
I first came to Port Macquarie area with the Artist Blacksmiths Association had one meeting, and I turned up for the second one. So
yeah, wow. So you're like a founding member.
I was back in the beginning. Yeah, I knew all the guys that started. Some of those guys now aren't with us, unfortunately. Lovely men. A few women have come through, which is great, and we still have women as well. So I was instrumental with these guys in getting the Blacksmith Association going. We built the building at Timbertown where we forged. Is
that right? You built it?
Yeah, we built it. There was an existing building, an existing forge, which we built a separate building behind with timber poles and lovely old building, earth floor, brick forges. Doug laid the bricks. We all built the forges, and we used to meet there monthly. Yeah, so commitments of our members prevented us coming more often. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, so getting back to my history, I guess I've just potted for many, many years. I've been a sort of a hobbyist, but I've been able to sell some work. I've been able to make stuff and like bigger architectural pieces. I've done a few bigger jobs, but I find it's very hard to manipulate the big pieces these days. My body's not up to it.
Right,
so,
okay.
Yeah,
but we have power hammers for that.
We do. Now, well, as much that as putting in place a balustrade railing or a spiral staircase or one of those sort of jobs which I've done, you've got to have a team of guys to help. Yeah, and I don't have good lifting gear.
Right.
Yeah, so that was, I'm tending to go back to smaller household items now, and I enjoy doing it, love it, yeah.
And so did you have a job alongside that?
Yeah, I was an industrial arts teacher, and I also teach science, so I teach earth history, and so the combination goes along very nicely. So I was able to forge on my time off, my holidays. I was able to do small commissions. Towards the end of my teaching career, I did larger work, and I've been retired 3 or 4 years now. So just doing what I can to keep my hand in.
Ticking over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand that.
So awesome. I've got a good workshop. I'm pleased with what I've got. I've got a few power hammers, a couple of power hammers, and a press, and I enjoy doing it. In the cooler weather. It's a bit hot today.
Cooler weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can understand that. It's always the excuse. I can't light the forge. It's 40 degrees outside.
It's too hot out there, and there's a fire ban. Yeah. I have a gas forge for the inside work, but Yeah, so I really appreciate the blacksmith community. I love these guys. They're my best friends. They're part of my family. We travel with them. I've travelled overseas.
Yeah.
I've been through many countries with my blacksmithing friends from Australia. So
Right.
yeah, they are very close to me. Yeah.
I love that, and obviously I'm new to this sort of community, and I've seen several other new people. But even in the short time I've been in, I've seen a quickening of the amount of people that are wanting to be involved.
Yeah,
in
it's very popular lately. Lots of classes going on with the younger smiths teaching, which is really good. I like to see people learning. I have a gentleman, Lyle, who you've spoken to before, who comes to my forge every Monday, and I try and show him what I can show him, and so I can pass on things. He's very interested, and he loves it. So I've done classes, but I don't do that so much now. So it's a great community, and welcome to it, Toby.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
You'll be with these guys for years. Don't worry.
Well, I plan on it. I'm thoroughly enjoying myself. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Colin. Really
Toby.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I know you're a busy man, so good on you, mate.
Cheers,
Thank
mate.
you very
Thank
much. Bye bye.
Many of you will recognise this beautiful face. This is Steve Gale. So Steve is the official cat herder of 2019, well 18 and 17 it's taken, isn't it?
Yeah, 2 years.
2 years. Tell us a little bit about the gallery we just saw, or the gallery opening we saw for the Glasshouse.
Discovery Fe26. The idea came up 2 years ago, and it focuses on first contact between the early explorers, the first European explorer to make it deep into the inland of Australia, John Oxley. He found new lands and discovered new peoples. They discovered him and his ways in return. I'd have to say, who got the better deal there? The society we're in now is shaped by that first contact, for better or for worse. This exhibition focuses on those aspects. It provides inspiration for the artists to respond and explore how it impacts them and the story they want to tell. Some of them were real gut wrenchers.
Yeah, and it's because of the stories behind some of the art, right? What people thought about when they were doing them, or what gave them the inspiration.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, right. Can you tell me about any in particular that really touched you?
Oh, Colin's nail tree, meaning 2,000 nails.
I did not know there was 2,000 nails in that tree.
I don't think there is at the very
okay,
end.
it's a representative.
I think you had to pull it up, maybe 10 generations per nail rather than one generation.
It was representative.
Did you notice how it spirals up?
I did.
Very carefully, very uniform until it gets to the very top, where it fragments.
Yes.
There's a society that's been here for 40, 50, 60,000 years, changed irrevocably.
Yeah, wow. It's quite interesting. I assume you knew that and didn't just look at the thing and could decipher the art yourself.
No, I've got the full list of explanations.
Yeah, wow.
When artists were proposing their works and we had to submit it to the gallery. We needed to provide design materials, what was the artist communicating, to get acceptance from the gallery.
That's awesome. Steve, did you have a piece in there?
Yes, I do. I've got two pieces. I've got the steel canoes and the stone axes. They relate to a story from John Oxley's diary. He was trying to cross King Creek, just out past Warhope there.
Right.
And for 2 days he cut a track along the side of the creek because he and his horses could not get across.
Right.
And for those 2 days they tried to attract the Aboriginal peoples who were fishing out on the river to come over and bring a canoe.
Huh.
Finally, a pair of young males did. And the moment the canoe touched the bank, as Oxley records in his diary, they seized the canoe and handed them 2 axes. Thus the name work, Steel Canoe, with a question mark, as we don't know whether it was stolen or not. Only one side of the story remains.
So hang on, that's the background behind the fact that you've made those canoes out of steel.
Part of the reason. The second part of the reason is that forests have changed so much with clear felling and logging that in the state forests here you'd struggle to find a tree big enough to take the bark in which to make a canoe. But it's not a problem to go out there and find an abandoned, wrecked, burnt out motor car from which you can cut the steel to make canoes and axes.
Wow. So that's there all made of old cars that you found out in the bush, right?
Well, I've just harvested the materials from them.
It's amazing. Man, you guys have got obviously far more depth than people believe with blacksmith. They think we just hit metal and make it go wherever we want, but
metal's merely the material. Some artists traditionally have worked with clay, and there's a lot of similarities between clay and metal. Others have cast bronze, others shaped stone. Steel has been looked down upon as a utilitarian metal for centuries, millennia. But now that it's fading from society, being replaced with plastics and composites, there's far more scope for the artist to play with it, to explore it, to use it as a material to express themselves, express their ideas, their creativity.
People are starting to lose the ability to work with their hands. They don't understand how some of us that can do it. I can barely spell my own last name, but I can build and make things, and people often say to me, I'd love to be able to do what you do, but they can build computer programs or write their own last name.
Look, it wouldn't surprise me if people writing computer programs in a few years' time will be able to put those into 3D printers, and their hands won't be so necessary. It's the creative process of the mind.
Yeah, wow.
There's no reason why a 3D printer can't do what we're doing. We just don't have that technology now. We don't have that skill to do the programming.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I say bring it on. It's all part of the art.
It's all part of it. That's right. So back to the art. Obviously, we opened the gallery last night, and I think you breathed a bit of a sigh of relief at that very moment.
It was like stepping off a horse after 2 years straight from the saddle.
Yeah, right.
The works were delivered, the opening was underway, and it was all going to happen. There was no more delays with couriers, no more crises to solve. But I have had a wonderful team. The Glasshouse, the staff there, Bridget, Michelle, Liz, the guys behind the scenes, done a wonderful job. ABA New South Wales in funding it and supporting it. The sponsors, Cassegrain Wines and Bennett Steel. The organising committee with Wayne, Jen, Ingvar, and last but not least, the artists. Couldn't have done this without the artists.
Definitely. That's awesome. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Toby.
Okay, what did you think about that? So it's a different tact on what I've been doing in the past. Interviewing is really a fun thing to do because I like to teach and I love to learn. So being relatively new in this, I thought I'd spend some time chatting with some really, really experienced people. That's the way we're going to be running this channel from now on. I'm going to start spending a bit more time with specifically Australian blacksmiths and Australian bladesmiths. Also some knife makers thrown in there too. So stock removal's not thrown out for this one. Bladesmithing and blacksmithing, they're all together for me. I just love the whole art that goes into it and the whole industry. So I'll be chatting mainly with those guys. The next really exciting part of this is going to be podcasts. So if you like to listen to podcasts, I'll be letting you know in the next few weeks about where that platform's going to be, and you'll be able to go along and find that. So it's all getting really exciting around here. Please subscribe to the podcast. Let me know what you think. Leave comments below if there's anything you'd like to talk to me about, or if there's anyone you'd like me to specifically talk to. Next couple of weeks we're going to be having an awesome coverage of the Blade Symposium. So there's going to be some really, really great bladesmiths there, Australian bladesmiths. We're going to be having some interviews from them. So subscribe, press the bing button, the bell button below, so that you find out in the future who we've been chatting to. And if you want to find out more about the sort of stuff that I'm doing, follow me on Instagram at Murrell and Son Forge. So that's Murrell _ Son. Hang on, Murrell and. Hang on, Murrell _ and _ Son _ Forge. It's actually a lot easier than it sounds, although I just make it sound hard, maybe. I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook somewhere.
You know the red light, the red word that says subscribe? It's a button. Click on it.
Not so
The older you get, the
but
thicker your handle has to get.
Yeah, right.
Podcast.
Yeah.
And everyone that walked in wanted to see a horseshoe being made. And I said to myself, I'm not making horseshoes. But I turned around and sold 56,000 horseshoes in 6 years with kids' names stamped on them.
Hang on.
And that is still
Say that
going.
number again.
56,000.
So hang on, you went from saying I'm never making a horseshoe.
I didn't make them, I bought them and resold them.